All right, we're back. Morse Code Podcast, episode 91. Now, ordinarily, this would be the Dennis Rodman episode, no?
Something like that. I want to say that he may have been 97, but
No,
I could
shut up. He was 91.
But there is another 91, I'm pretty sure,
who
came up in this episode, unless he was 93. Ron Artest. I know he had some random ass number.
Dennis Rodman was 91.
Meta World Peace.
Yeah, Jesus. Dennis Rodman was 91, at least on the Bulls.
Okay.
Ron Artest, I think, was 90 something as well. He had some weird numbers, bro. But either way, none of that matters if you're still listening to us, because what number was Meta World Peace?
Oh,
he
sorry.
was 91.
Yes, he was 91, but correction again on his name. He's no longer Meta World Peace. He's Meta Sandiford Artest. So
Big Sandy.
Watch your mouth.
He's had some weird names. Sorry about that, Ron.
Yeah.
Mr. Peace. We were joined today by another NBA legend who you pointed out earlier was involved with Ron Artest, was involved with a number of NBA teams, including the Celtics. We had Scott Pollard, former NBA veteran or current NBA veteran, I guess, stop by. Really cool conversation. I'm trying to think. Talked a lot. Talked about his time in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. People often forget he was part of that Cavs team as well that went to the finals in 2007. Indiana Pacers. He was literally on the court during Malice in the Palace. That was a lot of fun. Highly recommend listening to that.
Yep.
And then he came home to Boston to win a ring, like most people do.
Where he was meant to be.
Where he was meant to be the entire time.
From Kansas roads, to Boston, a classic story.
All roads lead to the TD Garden. But yeah, I say we get right into our conversation with Scott Pollard. This was really cool, man, to have another former player on. And I thought about this too. I think he's the third former player we've had on, right? Max, Cooper, and him. Nothing but champions on this show.
That's true.
Check your rings at the door.
Yeah. So, Shaq, if you're listening, you are welcome here.
And I was going to also say, James Posey, if you're listening, you're welcome to come on the show as well.
Yeah.
How many Cooper had 5 rings. I think Max had 2 or 3, maybe just 1.
I think 2.
I think we'll call it be a conservative 2, 7, 8. It's combined 8 rings on this show. Not bad.
Not even including ours.
Bad at all. Those don't count. You never count the host rings. That's just podcast courtesy.
Because you were in that intramural cribbage league for a long time.
I was in
17-time defending champion.
The intramural cribbage league. 5-time DPOY, 6th man of the year in 2004, and then silver slugger in 11 and 12.
I was going to say, you somehow
humble brag, but whatever.
You somehow won the Gold Glove and Conn Smythe in the same year, which hasn't been done in a long time.
Ever. Nope. Hasn't been done since or ever. But here we go. Let's get right into it. This is our conversation with Scott Pollard again. Happy to have him on, new friend of the program. Here we go.
Me and Dan are here with a very special guest. I was going to introduce him by calling out some of the teams he's played for, but he's decked out in his Kansas Jayhawks gear. So we'll leave it at Kansas Jayhawk plus NBA player Scott Pollard. How we doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Man.
Just living. I guess we'll get right into it. I think so. With us being from Boston, like I remember the early days. You got drafted by the Kings, right?
No, I got drafted by the Pistons, 19th pick in the first round in '97.
Okay. And then how long were you with the Pistons before you went to the Kings?
I was there for 1 year, and then there was a lockout, and then the lockout ended in February of '99 or thereabouts. And I got traded as soon as the lockout ended from Detroit to Atlanta. Never suited up for Atlanta. They just wanted rid of Christian Laettner's contract, and they didn't really want me.
Didn't we all?
And so they gave me an option on the first game day that I could be a guinea pig and see if they could fight the NBA's injury reserve rule, which at the time you had to have an injury to be on the reserve list to carry 15 players. You could have 3 on the reserve list, 12 active, and that's it. And they wanted to change that, or they could cut me. And I was like, I'm not going to be a guinea pig. You can cut me. I got 2 years left on this deal. If nobody wants me, I already bought a house in Lawrence, Kansas. I was going to finish my master's and become a school teacher. So I wasn't that's how close I was to not being in the NBA anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
But my agent called me and said, there's 4 teams that want to sign you. And one of them was the Kings. And that's where I signed up with. It seemed like the best opportunity for me. And I was right.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'd
I
say
think,
so.
yeah. I think, I feel like that's where like the NBA really got to know Scott Pollard, or especially once you guys started getting far in the playoffs and stuff. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, I would consider you a pretty hard-nosed, like tough, gritty player.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in the NBA today, who do you think would be the most, I was going to say tough and hard-nosed, but who do you think would be the most annoying player to play against, like a thorn in your side type guy?
I'm not that familiar with the NBA right now. I don't watch it a whole lot. But I know that a lot of people say that Steven Adams looks a lot like me and plays a lot like me.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair on both ends.
So he's definitely not my son, but we have a mutual teammate or friend anyway. I never played with Nick Collison, but Nick Collison is the reason, or I'm the reason he went to Kansas. So Nick and I are very close, and he said Steven Adams is a guy that a lot like you. And I bet if you asked other players about me, they would probably say I was the annoying guy to play against, because I always was trying to slow people down, frustrate them, hit them when they need to be hit, so on and so forth. So if Steven plays like that, then probably Steven Adams.
I think that's fair. And it is rare nowadays, man. I mean, I know you mentioned you don't keep too much with the current league. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it is different. There aren't that many comparisons, I think, to how it was, especially back, not only you specifically, but guys you played with, played against. It's obviously a different league now, but I think Steven Adams is fair. And it'd be hard to find more than 5 players who I think are even comparable right now. But going back, I'd like to pick your brain a little bit. Going back to your early years with the Kings. I mean, you were involved in those Lakers series. That was really when I started really getting into basketball, at least like non-Celtics basketball. Any good stories or any recollection worth mentioning on those Lakers series, playing against guys like Shaq and Kobe in their prime and some of those higher profile games?
Well, I thought it was funny when people started calling me the Shaq stopper, because I played against prime Shaq and nobody stopped.
Yep.
But slowing him down was something I did my best and tried to do well at. But those series became a rivalry because of familiarity, like any rivalry.
Yeah.
You play somebody once, you don't really know them that well, and it goes on, game's over. But those rivalries exist because of familiarity, and playing them in Vegas in the preseason 4 times in the regular season, then the playoffs a couple years in a row, you get to know them. And so I don't know how many unique stories, that I would tell that go behind the scenes. This is kind of podcast, but or at least I'm not going to tell that story.
Fair.
It was a fun. It's always fun to have a rivalry because it makes that grind of an NBA schedule more exciting when you can look forward to a game against the Lakers when the team of the time that sucks. Like in our day, the Warriors were a guaranteed win for us. So it wasn't that much of a deal to play against the Golden State Warriors, but it was, you always wanted to make sure you had your A game going for the Lakers. So in an 82 game season, it's nice to have rivalries and keep you going and get you excited. Not that you want to look past a team like the Warriors or, whoever the bad teams are at the time, but it's certainly nice to be able to get excited about the better teams that you're more familiar with.
Yeah, for sure.
Stars, of course.
I figured I'd ask you this. So we looked this up. I think around that time, this is just what's listed. I think Shaq was listed at 330 is what they said online.
Yeah.
Does that hold weight? No pun intended. Does that sound about right?
No.
Okay.
My dad died when I was in high school, but he was 380 when he died. So I know what 380 feels like. And I would say Shaq was right there. Shaq's a little taller than my dad was, but Shaq was pushing 380, and I used to joke with him about it. I was like, 330, come on. And he would just be like, oh, come on, that's what it says in the program. Well, yeah, you can't read. We would just go back and forth. Nothing bad, just fun, back and forth. Because I didn't want him swinging at me, and I didn't want to swing at him. I had too much respect for him. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. It's a game after all. Not to say I didn't get pissed and want to punch people on occasion, but at the same time, I worked my ass off for all that money I made, and I didn't want to give it away just for an NBA fight. Hold me back. Nobody gets any real damage, and you spend $50,000 or more, in fines. So I never understood that, and that's why I never got involved in those fights.
Yeah, gotcha. So you're saying he was comfortably more than 330?
Oh, way more.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
And he was low. But the thing about it is he was so athletic, though, that it didn't feel, he didn't lean on you. Like Yao would lean on you.
Yeah.
Yao would come down, and you'd hit Yao at the 3-point line to try to stop him from getting to where he wanted to go and hopefully get him 6 inches to a foot outside of where you wanted him to be, which wasn't always successful. But you hit him hard at the 3-point line, try to slow him down. But Yao would just lean on you. And that was a different weight. He wasn't 380, but he was 300 something. And just lean on you and kind of go where he wanted to go. So, Shaq's athleticism made it so 330 might have been plausible because he could spin and he'd catch that dunk if you tried to play him, too high or deny the ball. He'd just spin and take the dunk behind you from the right block. So he just you had to play Shaq honest because of his athleticism. You couldn't just let him use his weight to bully you.
Yep.
Did you play with Mike Miller when you were in Indiana, Scott, or no?
No, we never crossed paths as teammates.
No, okay. The reason I ask is I was just going to say you didn't want to get the Mike Miller treatment, which do you remember that play when he played for the Bulls and Shaq actually took an unimpeded swing at Mike Miller's head?
Oh, you're thinking of Brad Miller.
Brad Miller.
Sorry. Brad Miller. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Brad Miller and I actually got traded for each other. He was with the Kings, or he was with the Pacers, and I was with the Kings. We were part of that 3-team deal. And so same thing. We played against each other in college and all the NBA, but we never played with each other. But yeah, I remember that one, and that's a death blow. If that connects. I mean, I'm not joking. People don't, people think, oh, there's weight classes in boxing and wrestling and all that, just so it's fair. It's also because heavyweight boxing matches, you see 200-pound men getting really tired really fast.
Yeah.
They're only 200-pound men. When you think about 300-pound men and the force behind a punch, if you ever, I don't know if you guys are old enough to watch Rocky IV, but it's kind of like Drago. Whatever he hits, he destroys.
Yes.
Shaq pulls back and goes full, like you said, unimpeded and connects. Someone might die.
Yeah, it looked like the fucking Hulk fist, like when the one that you buy at the store for a little kid, but just that actually came from a human. And Brad Miller is so lucky. I feel like he didn't even realize it until probably like when he got in the locker room or something. I assume someone was like, "Hey, do you know that you were that close?"
That's a near-death experience.
I was gonna say, Basketball Reference has you listed. So I don't know if you've ever checked out the site, but they have everyone's nicknames, alleged nicknames listed. They've got you on there as Samurai Scott. Is that accurate? Does that come from somewhere?
That was from Sacramento when I had longer hair and I put my hair up in a ponytail. I had a top knot, and the fans started calling me Samurai Scott. My sister made T-shirts and started selling them, and then they banned her from the NBA store because it wasn't official NBA licensed material. But anyway, but the Samurai Scott was one of my nicknames just because I was out there slicing and dicing the
Natural.
I was gonna say that's a good nickname, but I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if Scott had like a better nickname for himself. Who do you, if you were playing in the game today, do you think you'd wear your hair that way? Because I feel like there's some crazy shit going on in the league right now.
It was always spur of the moment for me. I mean, it takes a while to grow your hair out, so I couldn't just plan that overnight. Like, hey, I'm gonna have long hair today. But a lot of it depended on my mood, and it was anything to distract the opposing team from basketball. If I've got a guy thinking about the other guy's stupid hair or stupid chin little weaves in his beard hair, great. They're not thinking about trying to score. So, but that wasn't the impetus of why I did my hair like that. But if that's one of the side effects, great. But I always just did it on a whim. It wasn't to gain attention. It was just because that's how I was. I always figured if I cut it off or grow it out or bleach it or whatever, it's going to grow back. So And my hair grew fast back then. It doesn't grow anymore. You can tell. But I just had fun with it. But today, if I played in the NBA today, I'd probably have shorter hair because I'd be running 3-point line to 3-point line.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true. You wouldn't be
That's fair.
you wouldn't be jamming Shaq down on the low block anymore these days.
I'd just be
Nah.
running 3-point line to 3-point line. I would have lasted a lot longer in this league. I'm not knocking this league at all. It's just
Yeah.
different. And without all the pounding that I took from Shaq and Ewing and Barkley and
Yep.
Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan and David Robinson and Karl Malone, I mean, the list goes on. I played again. I told you about Yao.
Yeah.
I played against my childhood heroes and probably some of the greatest big men that have ever played in the game. All those guys I listed are probably Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
So, I took a lot of beatings.
Yeah.
And get 11 years out of this body in that league at that time, I think was a miracle. So if I played in this league right now, 20 years wouldn't be out of the question just because the physicality is different. I'm not knocking this era. I'm just saying it's different than it was. There's a lot less physicality. There's a lot more freedom for offensive players to make plays. It's exciting basketball. Again, not knocking it. It's just different.
It's different. Yeah. No, I don't think there's an argument there. Speaking of Hall of Fame players, maybe future Hall of Fame players, I'd like to transition into this part of your career. You were also part of that Cavs team that went to the finals as well, right? Playing with a young LeBron.
Yeah.
What was it like when LeBron first came in the league, when you had a chance to play alongside him? And what was that season like? Everyone kind of talks about, obviously no offense to anyone involved, but that's notoriously the conversation is, hey, LeBron led this team to the finals, without any real superstars. What was that year like? What was it like going to the finals playing with a guy like LeBron?
Without taking anything away from LeBron,
Yep.
Kevin Garnett didn't go to the NBA Finals with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
Paul Pierce didn't go to the NBA Finals with the Celtics until the Big Three were there. So, I see that, and to me, again, I'm old, but to me, I sit there and I go, those people don't know basketball.
Yep.
You think walking to the NBA Finals is a joke that one player can do that? No.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the pieces, were there any other Hall of Famers on that team? No. Was LeBron the best player on the team? Yep, absolutely. But getting to the NBA Finals, even in the East at that time, which was considered the much weaker division or conference, I guess, it's still not a fluke. You still got to beat the Bulls. You got to beat the Magic. You got to beat the Warriors. I mean, not the Warriors. You got to beat everybody in the Eastern League, Western Conference or Eastern Conference. So it's insulting, but I don't take it to heart because people that think that don't know basketball. They think, oh, LeBron just dragged this roster to the NBA Finals. And I think if you ask LeBron that question, honestly, he'd say, I couldn't have done it alone.
Yeah.
And in 4 years in the league, which is what he was at the time, he wasn't ready to be the leader that he is now or was later in his career. And I don't know that would have made a difference. We still ran into the best team in the league at that point, which was the San Antonio Spurs, and they swept us. I think we could have got a game or two had we switched up a few things. But, we danced with who brung us, and we stayed the same way and didn't make any alterations to our game plan, despite some of the coaching staff saying that was going to be the case. But, they beat us. They deserved the championship. But, yeah, I mean, 55 wins isn't a joke. We won 55 games in the regular season that year. So, LeBron took this team. Well, Jordan never took a team without any other Hall of Famers on the roster to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
He didn't. That's a fact. He had Hall of Famers by his side every time he went to the NBA Finals. So let's stop talking about that in an insulting tone towards 14 other players on an NBA roster, which are at the time one of 450 in the world that are on an NBA roster at any given time, because that's all the players there are. So that's my take on that.
No, that's great, man. No, it's who else is there to hear it from than someone else who's not only in the league at that time competing with you guys, but someone who's actually on that team. And unfortunately, that's just how sports media goes now. Obviously not us.
And it's also history. People look back and they go, Wilt never won championships. He won a couple, but he didn't win like Bill Russell won.
Right.
So they consider Bill Russell a better player, but I mean, he used to light up Bill Russell and they say, oh, he was playing against garbage man. Okay, fine. Average 50 for a year. Average 50
Yeah.
for a year in your kids' league. Go play against 10-year-olds and
Buddy,
see
I try.
50 in that league
Yeah.
as an
It's
adult.
not easy.
See if you can do that. Just do that. But then say, okay, yeah, he was playing against bums in the NBA. Again, it's just history, and people forget, and that's fine. It happens.
Mhm.
But sometimes us old heads have to tell people the truth about where the league was and why the league is as popular as it is today. It's not because of me. It's because of Wilt Chamberlain. It's because of Bill Russell. It's because of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Is Magic as famous without Larry Bird? Is Larry Bird as famous without Magic Johnson and their historic rivalry? Maybe not. And so we all know as NBA players the connection that we have to each other and the history of the game. And when you're in the league for a while, you get humbled or you get out of the league.
Yep.
There's only 5 superstars in the whole league. Everyone else is a role player.
Yeah.
Everyone. And there's players that think they're superstars and they find themselves out of the league because they're very talented, but they don't realize they're a role player until it's too late. And they find themselves out of the league. Everybody's a role player except that one best player on your team.
Well, I think people also forget that the year that you guys got there against the Spurs was you had taken down the Pistons in the conference finals, and the Pistons, number one, had already won a title just a couple seasons earlier, and they were in the conference finals. They were almost like they were like the Spurs of the East, where they were just in title contention for 6 or 7 years straight. So that alone, I thought, was already like pretty impressive. I bring that up because you have another relation to the Pistons from an adversarial stance in 2004 in the famous Malice at the Palace. I just want your general takeaway as someone who was there to see it firsthand. What was going through your head?
Well, again, rivalries, 2 teams that are familiar with each other. There was a lot of bad blood. We had gone to the Eastern Conference Finals with them in the spring of 04 with the Pacers. And we had the best record in the league. We thought we were the best team in the league. I thought we were the best team in the league, and I thought we had a good chance of winning that year. And the Pistons ended up getting us. And that didn't sit right with us because we felt we were the better team. So when we see them again, the idea was to embarrass them, and that's what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
We were embarrassing them on their home court. We were up huge. Game was over. And then all of a sudden, what happened. I don't have to retell the story of what happened, but, if there's any fault to be had, and again, I think Rick Carlisle is an intelligent man. I think he's one of the smartest people I've ever been around. But I think in that situation, and again, it goes back to Rick was a coach in Detroit previously. So there was bad blood just from him and the city and the franchise in Detroit. And so there was all kinds of reasons why we should have just kept on putting the gas, our foot on the gas and our, knees on their necks, whatever you want to say, and kill them, metaphorically speaking. But the time was right for Coach Carlisle to pull the starters out of the game. The game was over. We had it in hand. And if he had done that, none of that happens. None of that happens. Ron Artest isn't in the game. Ben Wallace is probably going to get taken out of the game too because none of our starters are in. So then Ben Wallace is on the bench. And if there's John back and forth from opposite ends of the court, from the bench, it's still not leading to anything. But when there's a physical altercation, a hard foul with a minute left and a blowout that the Pistons are embarrassed about, that there's a lot of reasons that led up to why things boiled over there. And it could have been avoided. Wasn't one of the ugliest experiences I've ever been a part of. It was disgusting. And the worst part about it was people coming out of the stands. You don't know. I mean, the security was different back then. They didn't have metal detectors at the door. You didn't know if people had weapons with them. And speaking of the haymakers, man, one guy came out of the stands and he got down to the floor and he looks up and I'm close to Jermaine O'Neal and we're standing there and he did which we all know as Giants. Whoa, they're way bigger in person because he had never stood next to him. And you could see that look in his eye. He was like, I've made a big mistake. And Jermaine does the Hulk punch and he slips on beer and misses the guy and just glances chin and hits him in the shoulder, knocks him right on his ass still. I mean, the guy still went right down. But talk about a death blow. That's a 6'11", 275-pound man, full-on punch. He hits him in the right place, that might be a dead person. And so there's a whole lot I could talk about that night. It was gross. Our radio guy had fractured vertebrae because when Ron jumped over him, he landed on him and fractured vertebrae in his spine, in his neck and back. And nobody talks about
not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that was our radio guy, Mark Boyle. He's a good friend of mine now. But yeah, I mean, there was a whole lot of things that I could go on and on and on about the stories, but it was an ugly experience. I hope it never happens again.
Yeah, it was obviously crazy. I think one of the, not silver linings, but one of the, I guess, funny things that I could take from it is, I think it was when you had went on one of the recent podcasts and you guys got back to the locker room and Ron asked if you guys thought you were going to get in trouble.
Yeah, well, the setup was we get in the locker room and then there's still fighting between us. There's players arguing, there's coaches and players arguing. I mean, we're trying to get everybody on our team calmed down and our staff calmed down. And so finally that happens. Finally, it's like, all right. So everybody calms down, and then Ronnie goes, y'all think we're going to get in trouble for this? Or y'all think we're going to get fined for this? Something like that. And we just died laughing. Like, you may not play basketball again.
Yeah, buddy.
And we don't know, and he didn't. He didn't play basketball again that year.
Yeah.
He was kicked out of the league for a year. And, a couple other guys got suspended for most of the season, sued and got back in.
Steven Jackson, right? Got a pretty hefty one.
Filed appeals to the decision, but I'm pretty sure, if I don't remember correctly, Ron didn't get back that season.
I want to say he got suspended close to 100 games as a result, because that must have been the first time, and maybe you said this, but that must have been the first time that you guys played the Pistons since that previous series, right? Yeah, because it was in November.
We were trying to beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Because it was payback for what they got. We felt like they got lucky.
Yeah.
With one play, we had Game 5 in the bag, and Reggie Miller goes to lay it up, and Tayshaun Prince made an incredible play, blocked the shot.
Yeah. We
go to Game 6, and there's a whole story there with Ron and Reggie that I'm not going to get into, but we felt like they got a gift, and we should have won that. So yeah, we were trying to embarrass them on their home court, and that's what we were doing, and that's what led up to it. There was all kinds of factors that led up to our frustration with them and their frustration with us.
Yeah.
Because we did. We came back in and we embarrassed the hell out of them on their own court.
Yeah.
The returning NBA champions.
No, that's a good point about kind of like just the logistics of who was even on the court at the end of the game, because it wasn't nationally televised. I thought about this too. Obviously, if it was a local game, it would still get out there. That's on film. But the fact that I think it was on ESPN. Just watching that towards the end, like none of this makes any freaking sense. Like literally a minute left, you guys are up 30 or something. But that's an interesting insight to hear what kind of led to it. And then, like you said, we don't need to go through the play-by-play of everything that happened, but another interesting experience on your resume, I guess you can chalk it up to.
I've been part of some of the biggest fights, whether the Kings and Lakers one.
Yep.
Press conference, I don't want to talk about it if you want to, but I mean, I've been part of some of the biggest fights in recent NBA history.
Yeah.
All that happens is people spend money for their ego.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I didn't go buy a yacht.
Yeah. Well, here's the bright side, Scott. All that led you on a path to 2008 with our Boston Celtics in a championship ring.
That's right.
Can't complain. I know we're coming up on time, and I want to respect your time, obviously, but I kind of just want to jump to this real quick because this is probably the most interesting part. We do a lot of work with Scott Rochelle, who's the president of the NBA Retired Players Association. We talk a lot about some guy, kind of what people are doing after basketball that you really wouldn't A, know of, and B, really think of. So I know you're involved in real estate now from what I've seen online. What's I guess a two-part question. What's life been like after basketball? And when did those thoughts kind of start? You know what I mean? Like when did you start kind of really planning, life after?
Well, you if you're smart as a professional athlete, you're always planning for the end because you never know when it's going to be. It could be tomorrow. And so my whole career, I was planning on, okay, this contract might be my last one. And if it is, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
That's why I was into commentating quite a bit when I was playing, when I would get injured or whatever. Some of the teams let me commentate while I was injured, sitting on the bench or whatever. Yeah. And I thought that would be something that I would get into. And then I retired and I got into it a little bit. And the problem with it is that NBA schedule. And When I was done playing, I was like, I don't need to be on this NBA schedule anymore, and I don't want to be on this NBA schedule anymore. So that's kind of where commentating, and I still do it on occasion, but that's where commentating kind of came to a halt for me.
Okay.
Because I love my family, I love my kids, and I want to be around them. I was gone when I was making millions of dollars, but commentating doesn't quite pay that unless you're Shaq and Charles. But I'm not.
Right.
So
it might not be a bad thing, but yeah.
But their kids are older too, and I got young ones still. So
right.
I didn't have to do anything, and so just kind of spent time with my family, traveled a bit. My first marriage came to an end in 2011, and that changed things, of course, financially and everything. And then I've done some movies. I've been in a couple small movies. That was fun, but I live in the wrong place. I don't live in LA. And so being a character like me, I'm not going to be a mainstream character. I'm too tall. They can't fit me and the little actresses in the same scene. I'm always going to be the big mean guy, that just the solo guy that comes in.
Can I ask what you've been in?
They just recut one called The Axeman at Cutter's Creek, and it's going to get re-released, I think, this weekend.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was never in theaters, but that one was fun. It was very cathartic. I filmed it right after my first marriage was over, so I killed a bunch of people. It felt good. Yeah.
Well, wait, do you know who Jason Momoa is?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's ever a biography about him, I think you got the job.
Yeah. Yeah. Except he's younger than me. So.
And that's a compliment. Oh yeah. Well, Aquaman 3, if he ever
grow my hair out.
Yeah, just wear a wig and you're good. You or Steven Adams will have to fight for that job, actually.
It'll hurt me because Steven Adams got that tattoo already down his arm, so that helps for him.
He's thinking life after basketball.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah.
Smart.
But no, I should have done real estate a long time ago, is what I'm getting at. I did Survivor and I did TV and movies and stuff, and I just, again, I don't live in the right place for that to be a career. So I should have done real estate a long time ago. I love it. I'm a multi-million-dollar producer out here, so we're doing great. We had a great year last year, despite all the craziness of the year. So it's a great job, and as the trite saying goes, if you have a job you love, you never work a day in your life. And so I'm really enjoying real estate, and who knows what'll come up next. Somebody will probably offer me a commentating job tomorrow, and I'll
great. Yeah, congratulations on the success in real estate. That's great. Last super quick question. So going back to commenting, did you ever work with Tommy Heinsohn when you were doing games in Boston?
Oh, I think one game they let me sit in with them.
Yeah.
Tommy's great, man. I miss him. He was a great dude.
No, he's the man.
I miss him a lot. But no, I think they let me sit in with him one time when I was hurt. Doc let me go up and do a game with him, but not a lot.
Yeah. We ask every guest who we have who has any relation with the Celtics, do you have any good Tommy stories, even from a player's perspective? Anything worth sharing with our audience?
Didn't spend enough time with him.
Yeah.
His health was getting bad even back then. And
I know, that's crazy, huh?
Yeah, he'd come in, do
years
games,
ago.
So I didn't really get a whole lot of time around him.
No worries. Interesting fellow, to say the least. Yeah. RIP. Go ahead, Soap. I'll let you wrap us up and let Scott get out of here.
Yeah, Scott, this is the last one for me. So you played in the main places that I think people will remember: Sacramento, raucous crowd, Arco Arena. I think that was for a while like the best arena in the NBA. You could probably attest to that. You also played in Indiana, which is the Hoosier state, so they fucking love basketball. And you played in the Garden, where the Celtics have won 17 titles. You also played in Cleveland, where they put spaghetti on their chili, apparently is what I heard. What was your favorite city to play in?
I have to say Sacramento, but I will quantify it with the fact that it was during the early part of my career when I was young. I was healthy. I was there for the longest part of my career. 5 seasons is a long time with one team, and I felt like I was part of the nucleus of that team and the franchise. And so, I was more of a producer on the court and off the court. And so when it's that, as opposed to being a role player in Cleveland or a role player in Indiana or a role player in Boston that gets career-ending surgery in February of the year that you win a championship, it's a little different. But all those arenas are great. I don't know that I've ever heard an NBA arena as loud as when I heard Larry Bird walk into the Garden one time as a Pacer. We were there playing, and all of a sudden the place just erupts. Larry, because he had just walked in, and he didn't like to go and make a spectacle of himself, but he was the GM of us at the time, and it was crazy. And so when I went back and played in Boston, it was great to be out there and be on that floor as a Celtic.
I will say this. I think it's pretty nuts. The experience at Arco, even on TV, hearing those fucking cowbells, like you don't hear that in any other arena. So that must have been insane to play in, especially in the playoffs.
It was the loudest place I ever played. In the NBA. Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas is the loudest indoor arena in the world. Actually, that's a fact. It's Guinness World Record holder. But Arco Arena was by far the loudest. Utah would get loud on occasion when they were good. When I first got over there to Sacramento, and we played against them, and they were still good. Karl Malone and John Stockton were still on that team. And they'd get pretty loud. But Arco was special, man, and don't mess with those fans because they'll go at you all game. Game. Like Phil Jackson said it was a cow town. That's where the cowbells came from. Okay, you call us cowbell? Okay, cowbell in your ear for the entire game, and he tried.
That's how that originated.
Can't do anything. That's what it was.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that.
Cow town, and so that was when they were like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay." Cowbells in his ear the entire game, right behind the bench. These are people are paying thousands of dollars for their tickets right behind the Lakers bench. And they're waving cowbells in his ear the entire game. Didn't let up, not one bit.
That's great.
Hilarious.
You guys had such like fun guys on the team between you, obviously C Webb and Jay Will. But I was just thinking, was Nick Anderson on the team when you were there?
Yeah.
Yep. Nick Anderson, Bobby Jackson, like the ultimate spark plug, Doug Christie.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lot of like
fun times.
So many good memories of just watching the NBA back in those days.
And we had John Barry coming off the bench. We had Big Nasty, Corliss Williamson, Lawrence Funderburk coming off the bench.
Damn, what a team.
Was Hedo there yet? Turkoglu?
Yeah, Hedo, Turkoglu, Turkish Michael Jordan. Yeah, we called him TMJ. He had his own play. We called it TMJ. Nobody knew what it was. We'd come down the court and be like, TMJ. Oh, all right. What's the Hedo? There was a cast of characters in and out of there. It was great. We had a blast. And everybody that came in just happened to be the right fit. I mean, shit, I played with Vernon Maxwell out there.
Max, oh, yeah.
He's one of a kind. So a lot of good memories of a lot of good players out there.
The image of Doug Christie and I think Rick Fox fighting, I'm assuming that's the one that you were alluding to earlier, just popped in my head. That was at Staples Center though, right?
Yeah, that was in LA.
That was crazy because I remember that one spilled into like the tunnel going into the locker room and shit. That just looked nuts because I think Shaq wasn't even playing.
Yeah, he went out their exit and we went out our exit and they met in the tunnel because Doug was getting ejected or whatever, and so it spilled into the tunnel and Shaq came all the way around actually to our side, and Jackie Christie, Doug's wife, was hitting him with her purse.
Just standard. Yeah. Night at the office.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right, man. We'll let you get out of here. Before we do, Scott, where's the best place for people to find you online and keep following you?
Well, I'm Scott P31, 1T, SCOT P31 on Instagram, and on Twitter, I'm Scott Pollard 31.
Great stuff.
And I mean, you can follow me on Facebook. It's kind of mostly real estate stuff, but
if any of our listeners have some real estate needs in Indiana, right?
Yep, Indiana. Go to westclayrealtors.com or just follow me on one of those two, and I can get you to West Clay Realty. You get West Clay Realty on Instagram. We have an Instagram page and a Twitter page.
We're still working on the promo codes for anyone asking.
All right. Sounds good, man. Appreciate your time. That was a lot of fun, and thanks for stopping by with us.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.